EA and DICE look to regain the Star Wars Battlefront 2 community's trust. PewDiePie hits 100 million subscribers, and a group of young Buddhist monks have won an esports tournament in Thailand. But first, Classic World of Warcraft has officially launched and taken its rightful place at the top. This is Arcadian Insight. Classic World of Warcraft officially launched yesterday on August 26th. It peaked at 1.1 million viewers on Twitch last night. For reference, Battle for Azeroth's peak viewership at launch was about 580K, which that difference is staggering. I think the data is fairly clear in showing that Blizzard was able to pull back a large amount of players that expand past just the BFA player base. What do you guys think? Are you impressed with the player numbers at launch?
Well, if you want a first-hand view, yes, because every fucking server has an 18 million person queue login.
I heard that, yeah.
I got home from work yesterday, and I think around 5 o'clock, the game started at 6 o'clock Eastern, and I think around 5 o'clock they let you actually sit in the queue without kicking you out. So I got home at like 5:30, got in the queue, and I didn't get into the game until 11:30 p.m. Which
is that normal? What was there anyone that just like logged in, or was the wait just like that across the board?
Most realms were like that. The only realms that weren't like that were like the really, really new ones that just opened on that opened on launch day, that didn't have people committed to them already. Like we were originally going to play on Herod, which was going to be like the big PvP East Coast realm. But then they're like, oh, there's like 1 million people on this server. We got to you're going to want to switch to a different one. So we switched to Stalag, and it's literally the same exact wait time. So
yeah,
it's actually pretty crazy that there are that many fucking people trying to log into this game right now.
There was already an article on that today. So this morning it was like the most populated servers, like which ones to go to, which ones to avoid. You're right, like
yeah. Yep.
I was probably a half hour. Actually, I just looked at the queue when I got home today. What, 15,000, 16? I don't know if that. It probably does directly correlate to actual people in the line, right? Like 15,000 people are waiting to get on just the one server.
Yeah, that's one server. That's not
right.
The whole. That's not all the servers. That's not like it's individual per server, which is fucking crazy.
I heard rumors of 100K on one. I don't know if it's true or not.
I bet it is.
There are people. I saw screenshots, which I don't know if they're accurate or not, showing like logins over 100,000 people. But in Europe, I think it was Europe, but I don't know how accurate that is. But I wouldn't be surprised.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the WoW Classic's I wouldn't say way bigger, but I think it is definitely a bigger player base over there for this thing. I just noticed they were way more prevalent on the private server scene, probably just because they could host the servers in Europe. That I'm sure that had to do with it too, but definitely a lot of Euro people that like the classic WoW.
Yeah, and just to really like prove a point here, like I was at work, I got into the queue at 2 p.m. about 2 p.m. I just got on like right now, so I literally have to like alt tab and like fucking move my character so I don't log out. And this might be a little bit crazy, but my brother is in, across the hall, and he's not here right now. So I'm going to get up like every 10 minutes and move his mouse, and it's not going to be that weird because that's how serious this shit is, okay? Just warning everybody now.
Perfect.
I have a timer on my phone. I ain't waiting for 5 hours again, baby. It's probably longer than that now.
Yeah, it is way too long.
So I know you have a sorry, go ahead, man.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, I know you have a counterpoint to this, Dave, then it seems logical, but why wouldn't Activision just throw Blizzard some dough and get some more fucking server space in there, baby? Like,
yeah,
these queue
times
times
not
are
a bad
long.
point.
No, it's not a bad point.
I know that there's a point where there's like too much, right? But if you have queue times for every single server and it's 4 to plus hours long, up to 100,000 people, like, come on. I mean, you need more server space, period. Especially if you're going to market it. I just saw an ad on Instagram today that said, come play, and half the comments on the post for the ad were like, yeah, don't even bother. You can't even get in, So it's like,
Yeah, well,
Where's the middle ground here?
Right. Well, and I think what I think, and I don't. It's not just me thinking. I think this is pretty like agreed upon overall. That okay, so they have these servers and they're populated right now, right? But if they open up, a million extra servers just to get people into the game and playing, there's a lot of people. There's definitely a lot of people that are just like logging in for Classic for the first time just because of like the hype of it, and like they're not going to stick around. There's going to be after the first couple weeks, it's just not. You know what I mean? The server queues aren't going to be the same. Like people are going to be like find out that the game's not for them or it's not what they remembered, and it's just like it's the initial hype. It's like any game on launch day. Everybody's like holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. And the big thing about WoW is like especially Classic, it's all about like the community on the realm, right? Like knowing the people on your realm and stuff. So it's going to be weird if like you open up all these realms and then a month down the road, like they're just like barren wastelands with like a quarter of the people that started. And that like destroys the sense of community, which is like arguably one of the biggest reasons that people want to play Classic WoW is because you actually have to like interact with people. Whereas like normal, like WoW now, it's like solo questing or just like you know what I mean? Join like a looking for group party and do something. It's like, you know what I mean? There's not as much interaction in the newer WoW compared to the old one.
So do you think that they internally expect a lot of these players to drop off? That's why they're holding back.
Right. And they even said like they even said like they did like an AMA or like a launch day interview thing, and they kind of said like, hey, you know what I mean? Based on our internal numbers, like we expect. So like after the first couple weeks, we expect a drop off because we know there's people just coming to check it out for the first time and like be a part of the hype. And they're going to be right because it's an MMO, right? And like there's going to be people that just don't have the time to play it for that, you know what I mean, for like an extended period of time. Like sure, you're like the first week, you're like, oh, this is cool. It's Labor Day weekend. I can play. I'm off for 3 days, and then I think it's gonna. Don't get me wrong. There's going to be people that play the game. There's people that are absolutely in love with the game, but there's going to be a drop off. It's not always going to have this many people. It's just not going to happen.
So think hypothetically. I mean, you could use that same argument in the whole other direction. Like they could be losing potential customers by not having space as well, right? I mean, are they just completely banking on?
Well, I mean, they've been
the trend.
Well, they've been opening new servers. I think they launched like over 10 new servers since yesterday, so they're obviously responding to it. It's just like the problem is, I think a lot of people at this point are already committed to a server with their friends, and to get 10 people or 20 people or 30 people to like start over and go to a new server at this point and like re-coordinate all that is a little difficult.
Yeah, what percentage of people playing Classic WoW right now do you think are actually looking for new people to play with in a new guild? I would personally say it's probably pretty low, but I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of people. A lot of people are playing with people that they've definitely played with in the past. I think, at least personally, the people that I know, a lot of people are playing with people that they've, always played with, or like have used to play with or whatever, and they're bringing it back, throwing it back to the old days. So.
I mean, haven't hardcore guilds been recruiting for over the last couple of weeks too?
Well, yeah, right, exactly. And people have been forming guilds and picking servers for a long time now, and like reserving names and shit. So, it's just like, and just like even today, like in our Discord, like everybody's like, oh, well, we can't get onto Stalag. It's like a 5-hour plus queue every time we get on. How? Like, can we just change servers? But like people are already leveled a character to 10. You don't want to do the same starting zone over again. You don't want to like restart everything and like reconvene and make sure everybody moves over. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're already like, you're locked in. It's really hard it seems easy, but when you have a guild full of people, of like 40 people, it's hard to just pick up and transition. Like there's always going to be people that are like, nah, we're already locked in. And like, I mean, I understand where they're coming from, but
yeah,
man, this whole thing,
it's hard. It's tough.
This whole thing just kind of goes to show like who's still the MMO king, like.
Yeah,
I thought that FF14 was flying up putting, BFA behind it, and now look at this.
Hey,
Double the population
don't you tell Ben that.
of BFA.
Don't you tell Ben that.
Do they have any
Final
plans?
Fantasy 14 more recently than Ben, so I mean, I got nothing against either of them, but man, 1.1 million.
All right, boys. Remember that thing I said at the beginning? I'll be right back. I gotta
Yeah,
move
go
the
ahead.
mouse. Big deal.
Do they have any plans to build out Classic WoW
I think
any
there's gonna
more
be...
from just the original? Because like from my perspective, like I would hate to lose the player base that I just gained back like in a month. It would be the worst feeling in the world.
It sounded like they were entertaining the idea of releasing other expansions, weren't they, Dave? Wasn't that it was brought up that
yeah, oh yeah, I
to
think
kind of progress the story,
Yeah, I think that might be something we see in the future.
I doubt. I don't think we're gonna see. I would like to see personally like a new patch for Classic WoW at some point. I think they're doing. I like what they're doing right now. I did want to say that to kind of combat that long queue time, I guess, to get in, that they're releasing the content in phases. So they're leaving enough gap, a time period in there that you can get caught up if you can't log in, the first week here, and you're really not going to miss anything,
right.
Because the majority of what most people want to be doing on the server anyway is still gated for the moment. So
from the internet lurking that I did, and maybe you and Dave can confirm this, is I thought excuse me, I was under the impression that they were going to release a new raid right off the bat at the release of Classic. That's what I heard.
Yeah, well, Molten Core is open. Like we're in phase 1 right now, and Molten Core is the raid that's open. But that raid has always been there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I heard they were
there's
going to
no
drop
new
a
raid.
new one right away. That's what I heard. But now that it's out, I mean, that could have just been
like a new. You're talking about like a new raid for
new
Classic
content.
New content. Yeah,
Wow.
We won't see that until this is all played out. It's probably going to be a year or two.
I kind of hope that does happen.
It'd be awesome. That's what I want to happen.
Yeah, not that I'm playing, but maybe they just roll out Classic WoW. It does great, right? It has more players than BFA for months and months. Like the player retention is golden. Blizzard sees it. They start releasing new content, and then all of a sudden they go through the WoW lifecycle and just don't make all of the mistakes that they made, right? It's just like 15 years in the past. What do you think, Dave?
We might be heading that way.
It'd be unbelievable.
I mean, to go on like exactly what you're saying, Matt. Like, Dave, do you think that they'll just do you think it'll stay Classic WoW? Like, we're just gonna have like little baby patches here and there, or little content? Like, there's no way that they're gonna tread down the same path. Like I can see people wanting, what is it? The Burning Crusade was the first content.
Yeah,
and then
that was the first first expansion.
And then the next one was Arthas, right?
Yeah.
So, do you think that they'll do that again and just start re-releasing these expansions again, like minus like what Matt's saying, and potentially just starting over and going through it all over again, and then maybe catch up? Like, I mean, because when we had spoken over dinner a couple of weeks ago, wasn't one of the big things that you had said was it's WoW expansion year, right? So I mean, I think what everybody's talking about there being a Void expansion, right?
Isn't it the 15-year anniversary too, or something?
Yeah, it's 15 years of WoW. Yeah.
Everybody thinks it's going to be Void, like there's going to be a big Void expansion.
Well, how BFA, how the story's shaping up with like, so I mean, I don't really think it's a spoiler anymore, but spoiler alert in case you live in a fucking cave.
I'll take mine.
In case you live in a fucking cave and don't know what's going on, but in the most recent patch, you defeat, you don't actually kill Queen Ashara, and then when you do that, your Azurite necklace that you've been powering up all this time, it was actually a ploy. She wanted you to come there because she needed the power from the Heart of Azeroth to unlock the chains that held N'Zoth, the old god.
Well, how did it feel? I mean, did it feel good? Like, did it make sense? Like as a player?
Yeah, I think the story. I think it's like decent. I really do. But it's just like it gets data mined now. Like people know it's going to happen before it happens. So like people have this expectation of like, oh, here's what's going to happen. We already know it's going to happen. So like, oh, this is stupid. But like, it got data mined. Like you know what I mean? Just because you know it's going to happen because it got data mined.
I mean, do you think Classic WoW will take this route, or do you think that it'll just kind of stick to Classic WoW? I mean, I really don't know how this is all very kind of new for the gaming world. You know what I mean?
I don't.
Like, this is a first
RuneScape
time.
did it. I think that was it.
Oh yeah, you're right. But I mean,
and that was wildly successful, and it still is. People play old school RuneScape constantly.
But yeah, I don't. RuneScape had did RuneScape have expansions?
It had a revised, like an updated graphics version of the game. I think they did away with the old one for a short period of time, and then went to this new one, and people wanted the old one back.
Like for WoW, I don't know. I really don't know if they're gonna go past Classic, because, I mean, based on like the past, like Classic servers have been a big deal. Like, you know, private servers, like a lot of people have played those for the last however many years. And people like just keep playing that same old shit all the time and don't get tired of it, which, I mean, obviously some people will, but, and like, sure, like a lot of people love Burning Crusade and a lot of people love Wrath, but like once you start to get past that, people just stop. Like, you know what I mean? The expansions weren't as fun. There are some real duds in there. So I don't think they're going to go down the road of like just replaying out the game through all the expansions. I don't think it's going to happen.
It would be wild, but I mean, just imagine.
Yeah,
you got your WoW classics. They're coming all the way up to BFA, right? And then you have your BFA players. They really don't mix too much. You probably have a little bit of crossover. Eventually, what if Blizzard says like, "Hey, now like you two servers are like going to be fighting each other. Like one's the Horde, one's the Alliance. Like, and this is going to be the end of World of Warcraft." Sounds good to me. You know, just give them the Oscar award now. Put it on film. Blizzard, if you want to hire me or reach out, that's matt@arcadianmedia.com. You can just reach out directly.
That's some Sky.
I'm available 24/7
right there. You know, alternate timelines. I don't know. I mean, like, so
don't roll it out.
Like, question for you, Dave. Like, so as a big WoW player, obviously, how did they keep you around? How will Classic keep you around if they're not going to have expansions in the long run?
That's what for me, like, I'll play through Classic, and I think there's definitely a lot of, like, you know what I mean? Once you go through all the phases and do all the raids and everything, I think there's definitely a point where, especially me, like, I'll be done with it. At least temporary, you know what I mean? Like, you play through it and then like you did it again and you feel completed. But there's definitely people that like, it's just weird. They just love WoW Classic and they just can keep doing it over and over and over again.
So I saw a lot of articles and journalists writing things before Classic launched, and even now today I saw a new one that basically had the same sentiment as those other articles. And this is what it said. So the World of Warcraft Classic server rush should subside quickly. Right now, it's a fascinating new old thing. Yeah, they really did say new old thing. I'm not sure what that means. That's garnering a lot of attention, but old school WoW is hard, and it's certainly not going to be for everyone. And Dave, I've heard you say this as well, that old school WoW just isn't as streamlined as the new stuff. It's a little bit harder to sit through. Do you think there's any truth to this? I mean, does this really matter? And if so, do you think that's going to be one of the main reasons that the player base leaves?
I mean, the player base is going to drop off. It's 100% going to happen.
I mean, do you think it's due to difficulty, or do you think it's due to the nostalgia just wearing off? Or is that maybe the same thing?
It's probably both, because like it's nostalgia because like you're going back to the original time you played, but like it's not fucking 2014, it's 2019. So like it's cool for a little bit and like it's fun to play with your friends and it's cool to see like all the people running around and doing stuff. But there's going to be a lot of people that just get tired of it. Like the grind, you know what I mean? Like, and like a lot of people that are coming back and playing it, you don't have time for the grind again. Like WoW, Classic WoW is a very grindy game. Like there's a lot of grinding to do. Like the leveling's a grind. Like there's no flying mounts. You can't even fucking ground mount for a while. It's like a lot of things are slow moving and take a lot of time. And like
Could you tell that when you were playing last night? Like,
Oh,
was
yeah,
it
just like-
was it frustrating for you personally?
I mean, it was like the gameplay, honestly, is fucking terrible. I'm not gonna lie. I can't. When you're used to like modern WoW, like this game, like fucking, I'm a goddamn rogue, and Sinister Strike is 45 energy, and it recharges like a fucking snail. So you're just like sitting there, just like daggering somebody,
Hmm.
just like not using an ability. You're just punching them with a fucking dagger,
Yeah, it's
and like
pretty brutal.
it's kind of like I like it in the sense like now in WoW you're like the hero and the champion, and you're so fucking great because you killed all this shit. But like when you go back to classic WoW, you're just a fucking random asshole out in the world trying to like find his way. Like you feel like fresh again. Like I'm an undead, so it's like you literally just got broken away from the Lich King, and you have free will to do whatever the fuck you want.
So isn't the Undercity back now, right? Because the Undercity is gone.
Undercity's gone. Yeah, they got.
So
got
now you have
fucking-
the Undercity back, right? I don't even play
Sure
WoW.
is.
How do I know this stuff?
Yeah, how do you know?
That's a
I spend
great
too much
question.
time on the internet.
Yes,
All
maybe.
right. You know what time it is, boys.
I think we all might.
What
No,
are
I
you
mean,
gonna roll
I was
for?
watching all kind of stuff.
What do you plan on playing?
So I
Like, you
went.
plan on playing though, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I made a character already, made an undead priest, and I haven't even been able to log in to play yet. Just looking at the queue times, it hurts my head. I'm probably gonna wait at least a week or two.
So did you and Dave plan this? Like you wanted to be in the same starting zone, like both undead?
I didn't anticipate myself even being able to get on this week, so I didn't think me and Dave were gonna play together at all, and I didn't expect anybody to wait around for me. I'll be surprised. I'd like to make the commitment to it again, but Dave's right. Like how grindy that game is. There's literally nothing about it that's like fast. Everything takes
Yep.
a few hours of your time to get anything substantial done. So there's
Yeah.
there's
We were
no
literally
yeah.
just talking about this in the 2 podcasts ago. Like you couldn't even sit down and play Metal Gear Solid. I can't even go
Right,
back and
right.
play Mass Effect 1.
I think this one's a little
Yeah.
bit different for me. I mean, I literally, I don't know if it helps or hurts me. I just did this whole experience again, like 3 years ago, on a private server, the whole way to 60 on a couple of guys, and raided the whole way through to Nax. And I had a lot of fun with it. Like, I really love vanilla WoW, and I was really excited for this release. I just, after reinvesting the time into it and then understanding what kind of commitment that takes to do it over again at this point in my life, I think a lot of people are going to come to find that, unfortunately.
Even just hearing you say that, like looking at the 1.1 million Twitch viewers last night, it just seems like they're going after an impossible task. Blizzard, that is. Like they're asking people that were kids when they loved this game to come back and give the same time commitment to a game that's outdated. It isn't going to feel as good in the current state. And now they have a job and a family and potentially kids and potentially a side hustle, as we all do. Like now in 2019, I just actually, honestly, now that we're talking about it, I just don't know who's going to play for more than a month. I really don't.
It is really
who are the diehards? I don't
There's
know.
a lot
they
of
are.
them. There's a lot
That
of
guy
them.
There's a lot-
right there.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are definitely going to play the game, absolutely, but it's not going to be like it is on the launch week. It's just not going to be like that.
No, I mean you might lose half.
Oh,
mean,
easily.
Blizzard's- Like
And I
easily, you could lose half.
Well, yeah, and I think they expect that. They know that's
Mhm.
going to happen. That's part of the reason why they don't
I
want to
don't-
open up a million servers
I mean, do you
either.
think they expect that large of a drop?
I think that they
Because
definitely
that's pretty
do.
big. I mean, that's big.
I mean, there
I
was
mean,
hardly
essentially-
any servers there to pick from yesterday or
Right.
2 days ago when I made that character. I mean, it was piddly. I mean, they definitely are protecting everybody from, because I mean, even when Classic WoW was out, when I re-rolled my second Horde character and leveled up, by the time I got to 60 on that server, it was dead. There was one raiding guild on that side of the factions. Like, you couldn't play. They're definitely going to protect you against that.
Right. And that's like part of the reason why I think a lot of people are staying on. It's like some of these realms that have like ridiculous queue times now, these realms will still be thriving in a year from now. And that's where people want to be when that time comes. You know what I mean? You don't want to be
Yep.
in 3 months, you don't want to be on a server that just like booted up on launch day that a few people joined or whatever, and then just everybody fell off. You don't want to be on a dead server, and they don't want that either, because it looks really bad when you have to do server merges and stuff. When you're like, oh, like we have, just for instance, like we have 20 servers. A year down the road, like, okay, we don't have enough players on some of these servers, so we're gonna cut like 4 servers off and merge them into other ones. That looks really bad from like a stock financial perspective, and like they're absolutely 100% trying to avoid that.
I mean, in the
that I
coming
can
months
guarantee.
too. I mean, Blizzard's essentially going to be competing with itself, right? I mean, they're re-releasing Warcraft 3. Okay, so that's going to bring back a lot of people that does not require as heavily of a time sink too, right? And Warcraft 3 is what really popularized Warcraft, right? I mean, you had Warcraft 1 and 2, right? But Warcraft 3 is the one that
was huge.
they're remaking for a reason, right?
Right.
So they're going to have population trickle over to that. They're going to potentially re-release it, or not re-release it, come out the new expansion, right? So they're going to lose players back to live servers, or what do they call retail servers, or
retail is like the current state.
So they're potentially just going to be competing, and it's all Blizzard, so I guess, I mean, they're going to be making money off it either way, but I mean, they have to know that they're going to pull players away from this.
Well, I mean,
the other stuff they have down the pipe. Right?
Yeah. Well, one thing you have to think about too is like if you're sub to WoW, it's classic and retail. You get both. So like you're not really. They don't care which one you're playing as long as you're giving them sub money. You know what I mean? They don't care if you're on classic or if you're on retail.
Right. So maybe. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
I mean, so maybe Blizzard will look at it in a different light now. Like instead of looking at it as classic and retail, they're just going to look at it as WoW.
Yeah,
How many
right.
people do we have playing WoW? Doesn't matter whether it's retail or classic.
Right, and I don't think, and I'm not sure that they don't even disclose sub numbers anymore, so they'll just lump it all together as one franchise, most likely.
Yeah, potentially, but I think if I was Blizzard internally, I would want to separate those out.
Well, I mean,
think about them differently, just because like they're completely different products.
No, right, no, they can absolutely separate them, but I'm saying like as far as like public announcements, they're not going to probably say,
okay,
this portion is WoW Classic, this portion is retail. You know what I mean?
Because from a statistical standpoint, yeah,
they want to protect numbers like that. You like even lately, like they don't release, like they don't say we have 5.8 million retail subs right now. Like they don't do that anymore because they want to hide it because they don't want to.
I can't get player data on any games, and I look often for this show because it's awesome data to have. You can't find it.
Steam is the only one that you can really generally just Google and get the numbers like right off the bat.
That's true.
I do kind of like that they hide that information, though. I think there's a lot of bias towards game. Those numbers would just push people towards anything with the big numbers.
I don't know. I think
what you're saying, Wolf, but like I was playing, like Hunt Showdown just released today, right? Full game, and 1.0 for pre-orders released like a few days ago, and the game had a relatively small population as it stretched its early access lifespan. Now it's as big as it ever was, but I could use that data to find times that were best beneficial to me in playing, like lobby times, full server, like get into a full instance rather than going in. Because there were times when I played with Chimp and Phil that we got into a server and it was empty and it was just straight PvE. That's it. So I could use data from Steam to find the right time, or when it was a good time to switch to West Coast, or when it was a good time to play East Coast, sacrifice ping latency for player pop.
I think
I enjoy having that information.
I mean, I almost think that these companies kind of owe the player base to make that information public. And I really stand by that. Like we've talked about this before, but they're giving you this online product that's ever changing, that you have no say in the changes, and you're supposed to just play it for years and years, and you have no idea what the player base is. Kind of BS to me. I would like to see them release that. Even if it hurts them, like, I mean, that's too bad.
Well, yeah,
Like,
I mean,
I think that the players and the users have a right to that information. I really do.
so what happens, with the statistic you mentioned about the Steam viewer, or not Steam, Twitch viewership for WoW. So like 2 weeks from now, it looks similar to that, and everybody goes, "Wow, like classic WoW, it's here to stay. It's way better. It's way more popular than BFA." And then everybody, I don't know, the subscriptions keep falling on BFA when they start comparing the numbers to them, and everybody jumps ship, and you're having people essentially kind of like, you're pushing people towards classic WoW, which I don't think is a bad thing, but like we just talked about earlier, it's a finished product already, and you're probably not going to see anything more from it in anytime soon. It'll probably be multiple years before they decide to do anything at all. I mean, you're pushing your player base, your subscriptions to something they're definitely, I wouldn't say definitely,
But I mean,
90% of them aren't going to be playing next year.
Adam, I mean, if it's just because it's not good for Blizzard, it's reality. I mean, what I don't think that like having data is ever a bad thing for people. I mean, and the smart people aren't going to jump ship because they realize that Classic is going to not have the right player base and BFA will still be around for a while. I mean,
they got.
People aren't like completely lemmings. Like they have to think for themselves.
I mean,
well,
sure
it comes down to
but
what the game companies have nothing to gain by releasing that. It doesn't help them at all. It can all like way more bad.
I'm not saying it helps them, but I think that
right.
the users should have it. I don't think it helps the companies at all.
They could sink their own ship.
It doesn't. That's why. Yeah, that's why it doesn't come out. They don't give a shit if you need. You don't need to know. They don't give a fuck if you know.
I agree with you on that. On like that particular, what you just said right there, Wolf, is like can back your statement up there alone by saying like, okay, we released this game, right? Like, and people go and they look at the numbers and go, well, nobody's playing this. That's essentially what happened with that, not Ring of Elysium, but Islands of the Nine Battle Royale that happened a few months back.
Yeah.
It had a population of like, I don't know, whatever, like right at release. And that was partly due to like them just giving it to the streamers, right? So as soon as the streamers were like, this game's trash, and they quit playing it, everybody else quit playing it too, and I saw it coming right away. I refunded it before I even put any more time in it, got my money back. But weeks later, Phil is still asking us to play, and it's like, Phil, they can't even fill a whole server anymore. Why would I even bother with that game? And that goes right along with what Wolf's saying. They sunk their own ship. People can see the numbers. Nobody's playing it. Nobody's going to buy it.
Well, and it's a great point. I mean, that's a great point, and I think it leans more towards they should just show people the data, because we already have a benchmark for what's popular, and that's Twitch. And Twitch isn't going away. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's never going to be perfect, but within a margin of percentage, you're always going to know how popular a game is. Whatever's at the top is going to be the most popular game every single day. And that's just like a fact. Now, like something like Heroes of the Storm, I'm always wondering how many players are left. I think that they should show you, but I mean, you can look at Twitch and see, okay, well, nobody's even fucking watching this game. I'm pretty sure that it's dying, and the player base leaves anyway. Yeah. So why not just show it?
I get what you're saying. I mean, and this is obviously subjective, and you can really only focus this light on Blizzard, but they got BlizzCon coming up in 2 months?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what they do and what numbers they show or don't show, if they pull players from BFA, because I mean, it's obvious that they have 1.1 is the number, and BFA's release was 5. What are we looking at? What was it? 580.
Yeah.
So, that, okay, well, people are starting to get stale with WoW Classic. Boom. Blizzard expansion, retail expansion. Everybody who was losing interest didn't want to even go back to BFA. Like maybe Dave can back me up on this. If he starts to get bored of Classic, he's got the new expansion right around the corner,
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I think too, like even with Classic, like it just gets people back into WoW, and that might make them decide, hey, I'm going to play retail again. Like this is fun. And like my friends are back. Like I can play retail now instead of WoW Classic. And two, like you have to look at it like, so like WoW Classic, I think it comes to a point where there's like not that much more development to do. You know what I mean? Like the game is what it is, and they spend a finite amount of money designing it and like implementing the game again. But it's, you know what I mean? Like it's already has a set arc, and this is as far as it's going. Like they don't have to make they don't have to develop a whole new expansion or anything. They just redeveloped, and that's going to be it. So like the development costs and stuff aren't going to be there, like, you know what I mean? Because it is what it is. Like WoW Classic has already been created. They're doing the same shit. They don't have to hire a story team again. You know what I mean? It is what it has always been.
What a baller move on Blizzard's part, you know? What a baller move.
You think?
Oh my god. You know, and now they got Warcraft 3 coming back too, and I'll play Warcraft 3 again.
What do you mean baller? Sure. What do you mean baller move? What do you mean?
My god, they don't even care. It's like, you know, we sit here and everybody bitches and complains about re-releases and reboots and movies and games and everything else.
Including me.
And Blizzard is just like, boom, 15-year-old game. 1.1 million people come back to it, and everybody has been bitching about this for the last 2 years.
I'd actually like to just pose the question: do you think it was a smart move to release it? I mean, today, hang on. Like, if we hang on, just let me flesh that out a little bit. Because if we look at it today in isolation, anybody says yes. I mean, it's not even a question. But like, I mean, what is the impact really going to be long term?
I mean, they were already losing money on it on the servers that Wolf was playing a couple months ago that they were talking about. They were literally losing all that money on those people who wanted to go back and play it anyway.
But they obviously don't want to have a game running that isn't really that popular and making a ton of money. We just saw with Heroes of the Storm. Paradox just said like they were making they made $33 million or something in Q1 2018 on that game. Like they were obviously making profit. They don't want another one of those. They want Overwatch. Right, I think they've made that pretty clear. And like, what does Classic WoW really do? Unless it gives a big bump to the BFA stuff, I'm not sure that it was even like really worth the dev time. Unless they just really wanted to please their fans. And if that was the case, then great job because they did it, and that's awesome.
Well, but yeah, you have to think of it too. Like I said before, a big part of it is there's definitely a finite amount of cost. Like the development cost can only go so far because the game is what it is. You don't need to rewrite stories. You don't need to sure, they had to redesign the engine a little bit to make everything work or whatever. And if you pay for a WoW sub, you get retail and classic. So classic is just kind of like a companion to that. And I'm sure
they're together.
They're a bundle. So if you pay for a WoW subscription, you get retail and classic. So I
must have blacked out when you said that before. I didn't know that.
You can't separate the two things. Like they're basically one thing as far as money goes.
I think. Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
No, I've been yapping enough. You can go.
I think we've been saying that like everybody's wondering like where the future of Blizzard is. Man, I think they've got at least the next 5 years just locked in. And if you're gonna compare it to just Steam charts, classic, retail, Warcraft 3 coming. Diablo 2 has a mod on StarCraft now that everybody is freaking out about. That's coming in October, I think, and it looks fantastic. So anybody who is nostalgic for Diablo 2 is about to get that, and it's a mod on StarCraft, so they're not losing population to a third party. We got BFA expansion or retail expansion coming. Diablo 4 possibly. Immortal is coming on the mobile. They're talking about an Overwatch sequel. Blizzard is not going anywhere, man. I guarantee you those two, they stay in the top 10 for the next 10 years. Yeah. Easy.
I kind of wanted to rehash that point they brought up there with that subscription. I thought it was really cool. I only had Legion. I didn't even have to go back and buy BFA. I just had to subscribe again to get access to Classic WoW. And just to think that like what the value is of that, even to someone like me or Dave who has BFA, what that $15 is actually getting you. I mean, you're essentially, I know Final Fantasy XIV is a pretty great game, but you're essentially getting like the Titan MMORPG of like the current era, as well as like its predecessor, which was ultimately in most circles the greatest MMORPG of all time. Like you're getting both things in their heyday, which is pretty cool.
Like I said, baller.
I just kind of want to go back to Josh's point, and the only thing I want to say to that is that I don't know. I'm a firm believer that if you're not moving forward, you're moving backward. And I'm not saying that the nostalgia stuff isn't really cool. I'm not saying that I don't appreciate it. I think that a lot of people do. I think that it is a baller move. I think, to steal your terminology, it's really, really cool. And maybe I wish that more companies would do that. But I don't think that solidifies the future of Blizzard. I don't think that it does anything. Actually, in my mind, if we're looking at like the future of the company, re-releasing Warcraft 3 and putting dev time into this stuff, like, if I'm an investor, I actually am disappointed, because I'd rather see you put R&D time into something new. And unless like Overwatch 2 looks really great and they have all this new IP coming out, which they just might. I mean, we might see like 4 new games announced at BlizzCon, and I could, eat my fucking words. But until I see that, I'm actually not happy with the direction that Blizzard is going. Not financially, nostalgia-wise, sure, fan service-wise, yeah. But like, the future, I don't know what it holds right now.
And, okay, so this is coming from somebody who's a little biased towards Diablo, but I don't know if you knew this, Matt, but Diablo 3 is Blizzard's all-time best-selling game ever.
What's that mean to me?
They can't compare that to stuff like Blizzard because it's a subscription service, right?
Yeah.
But if they lock in, if you're saying like financially, and they release a new Diablo game that isn't some stupid mobile one that people actually want, a new Diablo game and then a new Overwatch game.
Yeah, but we haven't seen them. I just need to see them, and I need to see that they're going to be good.
Diablo 3, everybody said, was complete trash in comparison to 2. And it's still their all-time best-selling game.
Yeah, but you still can't build the company around the same franchises forever.
I mean, they've lasted this long.
I understand that, but like, we've seen them slipping a little bit. And you've seen the articles coming out saying like, these games are getting old, the player bases are dropping. Yeah, the revenue looks good, but Candy Crush made up like 53% of the revenue. Like, the mobile revenue made up like over half of Blizzard Activision's revenue. Like, that's fine. That's great that they have that, but like, these old franchises aren't growing. I mean, they just aren't. You can look at the data; they're not.
That's a good point. I mean, who's
coming
back?
I'm gonna come back and make a really
really great point.
Yeah, rock our worlds here.
Perfect. A few times are fucking real, dude.
Like I said, a hardcore guy right here. He can't even not go. I gotta go get up and move a mouse.
Oh yeah, hey, I mean, I'd probably do the same thing.
Look at this guy.
I really like classic.
Would you just look at him?
Yeah.
I really like the idea classic WoW, but I mean, Matt, you're right there. Like, if they disclose the numbers, like, who's that actually bringing in? It's probably not the same people that are like playing Fortnite right now, the young kids. It's current WoW subscribers and people our age that play classic WoW that don't play WoW right now. It's definitely not bringing in a whole new, the younger generation. There's no way.
No. Hit us with this wisdom, Dave.
Okay, so here's going to be my point. So you're saying like, okay, they're rehashing games, they have balls to do this, yada yada yada, whatever. Okay, here's how I see things, and I think this is probably how they see things, which may be right or wrong. Time will tell. Okay, so Blizzard kind of hit a point recently where like, okay, like the stock price was down. It's always bad news. Okay, so they decided, okay, we're cutting HOTS, you know what I mean? They're cutting out like the lower impact games out of their system, and they're reallocating development resources to their existing franchises to expand them, blah 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 blah. And they're cutting, like less essential jobs. I'm not going to say like they're useless or anything, but like, you know what I mean? Like, you can have a company with less customer support or
less fluff.
Right. You can cut some of that stuff out. So like when they're going through a big like restructuring like that, these like classic WoW reboot and like Warcraft 3 reboot, these are all things that don't require anywhere near as much development time as a new game. Mm-hmm. So this is like the tide over period where they give you these things now while they're working on their new stuff, because like you just don't develop new stuff in a year. This is like, the intermittent stuff, like
3-4 years. Yeah.
Yeah. This is like you like, and like the Blizzard community and like the fans have been begging for fucking classic WoW since, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like they just did it for the fucking hell of it. People want it really bad, and like they know they're making money off it, or they wouldn't do it. And I think these reboot projects are like just a temporary thing to tide you over while they're reallocating their developers to make new things for the future. That's how I see it.
Yeah, and I actually completely agree with that. And I think that it probably is the case. And like I said, I just need to see the new IP. I just need to actually visualize a release statement that says we're releasing this, this, and this this year, and here's the trailer, and then I'll say, okay, that looks fucking sick, like Blizzard.
And I think that,
also to your point, yeah, games don't take a year to make, but I think that Blizzard's had some time to make some games, and we haven't seen them. But I don't want to keep going. I don't want to keep harping on this. But that's really where I stand on Blizzard. But if you guys have anything else you want to say before we get down to the news,
just to hit it. Last statement on this from me is that it's not Blizzard anymore, too, Maddie. They have Activision, right? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Modern Warfare is about to kill it too. You know, this new release of Modern Warfare, like,
it's true.
I've hated Call of Duty since at least Black Ops 1. I am buying this new Call of Duty. It looks so good. I'm just gonna say right now. I can't hold it anymore. They've won me over. This new Call of Duty looks sick. As much as I hate to admit it, but like they have other shit. You know what I mean? They have, you know, I mean they don't have Bungie anymore and Destiny, but they have Call of Duty, and that's still making them so much money. Like, do they even need a new IP right now? Honestly, do they? Do they even need a new IP?
I mean, no. To run, no. I mean, they'll be fine, but eventually, I mean, you need blood.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can get along with that too. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's just Dave always talks about this, but it's companies, not just gaming, but like big companies everywhere that have shareholders are in a perpetual state of needing to make more and more and grow a certain percent of revenue year over year and quarter over quarter. And like a Blizzard has to be on the cusp of not making that. I just feel like they have to be there because they don't have a ton of growth right now. They just don't.
I mean, like it just depends on what segment you're talking about. Because mobile, they're still growing like crazy.
Yeah, Candy Crush and stuff. Yeah, sure.
They're growing like crazy in mobile, and the esports stuff is really starting to take off.
Is it Overwatch?
And Overwatch. Yeah, Overwatch.
Yeah, I had read that it was actually going downhill. Is it because they just made those changes with the specific team comps that you need to have? Yeah, that was a good move.
Yeah, and like the esports scene is still growing, and I think you're going to see them capitalize on that. And like they've already tried to do it with WoW, with like the Mythic Dungeon Invitational and Arena and all that shit. But I think that's probably like the next place that a lot of these big companies are looking for. Like, I mean, League of Legends, like Riot, like they're already all over it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think like people are starting to realize. I mean, they already realized it, but the esports scene is a big deal, and there's lots of potential viewers, and we talked about it before how big of a boom it's facing right now, and like all the advertisement opportunities and everything are, you know what I mean, going to really be there, and there's going to be tons of money there. And I think that's where some of these bigger companies are going to look to shift into, because it's an emerging market that is fucking huge, and there's lots of, you know, ways to make money.
I think I'm hearing you here, Dave, and I think what you're trying to say is HOTS 3.0.
Yeah,
and they're the next MOBA to compete with League of Legends and Dota.
6.5 out of 10.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
So EA and DICE look to regain the Star Wars Battlefront 2 community's trust. If you don't remember, Battlefront 2 had one of the worst launches in recent memory due to their absolutely horrifying loot boxes and monetization methods that were in the game on release. Now they're looking to implement new characters, game modes, and also new content surrounding Episode 9's release in the box office, which I'm sure that we're all just so excited for. And here's a quote from DICE. "Not a week goes by without us thinking, imagine if we hadn't launched with loot boxes the way that we did." Yeah, I mean, imagine that. You probably shouldn't have. But I guess my big question is that even if a game like Battlefront 2 that has a terrible launch does a complete 180, is it ever possible that it will be looked upon in a positive light ever again? And how do you personally feel about this just as a consumer? Are there any games that you've given the time of day to after they've kind of burned you upon release?
I think one that really sticks out in my mind that I didn't personally get burned on, but I have a really hard time believing anybody about still is, fortunately, we had Morgan on from Sword Chomp, and he was talking about No Man's Sky, and that level of game, how much hype that had. I mean, that's probably in the last few years here, like how big that game was supposed to be and how disappointing it was to everybody that played it on launch. I still can't look at it positively. I mean, you could tell me until you're blue in the face that it's a great game. They fixed it, a few years down the road. Like, this is definitely worth checking out. I don't think I can do it.
Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
All right, no, go ahead. I've talked enough, man. I'll get my point later.
Well, my only point on No Man's Sky, I agree with you. I can't play it either. After getting burned, but every comment and video I see about No Man's Sky currently says something along the lines of, oh, hey, this game is good now. You should check it out. It's totally worth the money. Beep, beep, boop, I'm a robot. And I can't help but wonder, is this a marketing campaign from Hello Games or whoever the hell it is that makes No Man's Sky? I don't know if it's Hello Games. I might have just actually made that company up. They might not even exist. But honestly, I see the same comment, and it's like they have people in the comment section saying like, hey, just type in like, no, this game's really good now. Just try it out. It's totally worth the money. Does anybody else see this?
I think this is kind of an interesting thing because it's kind of like pertain to the gaming industry alone. You know what I mean? Like, you see a lot of products can bounce back, like the gaming industry is unique in this way. You know what I'm saying? But if Morgan's listening from Sword Chomp, I'm with Matt and Wolf. You could have hyped that up for an hour and a half, and I would have been like, right, buddy. But
it's not even that It's not even that I don't believe him. I mean, the game might be good. I really liked Morgan.
Sure, right.
Take his opinion at high value, but like,
look at us, right? We're sitting here like second guessing it. We have a guy who pays close attention to the gaming industry, like Morgan, comes in, and who obviously he has kids and a family, and from what we gathered from him on the show, he values his time, right, and his value pertaining to what games he plays as a gamer. And he's still playing a game like No Man's Sky. Okay, you have an example in Morgan alone. Okay, but to go back to Battlefront and what I was saying about the gaming industry is like, it's way too hard. There are exceptions, right? Look, Anthem is dead on the water. The developers are even leaving. You know what I mean? So
Anthem was dead on day one, man. That game never had a chance.
No Man's Sky made a comeback. Warframe made a comeback. I'm pretty sure that not Paradox made that point on the show with you guys last week. That game was a horrible release, and look at it now. Destiny 1 was a failure at launch, pretty much. And, well, maybe not a failure. They had great marketing with that game, but
that's true, yeah.
Until they came out with Taken King, that game was pretty dead for the most part. And then Taken King, and they revitalized it. So there are examples of games in this industry that can make the jump back. But in terms of like Battlefront, where so many people already had like we already had Battlefront when we were kids, right? And if you played them, Wolf, like I played them, the original Battlefront games were the shit. Even to play by yourself, you didn't even have online. I played the original Battlefront games way too much. I played more than I'd like to admit, probably.
Yep, Kashyyyk Docks Battlefront 1. Forget about it, dude.
But I cool that but it's EA at the same time. So just everybody has a hard time trusting EA to begin with. So, and does DICE really have a say in the matter when they go, well, we don't want to take this approach where we want to have two grow and not come out with a third one? If you read this article that Matt sent to us and that we looked at it, they literally had the mindset when they made number one, they didn't even care. They said, we're going to make them pay for stuff for a year out from release. And then we're going to start moving on to 2. We don't even give a shit about number 1. Our eyes are already on what we're going to make on number 2.
Insane.
So
absolutely insane.
How can somebody who is nostalgic and has passion for the Star Wars game, especially the old Battlefronts, trust EA or even DICE's word on this? Look at Battlefield 5. Oh my God, that was a dumpster fire too. You know,
I mean, you can't trust them. And me personally, I don't like being lied to, or at least feeling like I mistrusted you or something, and you gave me something that I didn't actually ask for. It's actually like maybe the thing that I hate the most, whether it be like me with a person or me with a company. So like once that happens, like as soon as No Man's Sky releases and I hear that it's nothing like what was advertised, I will never fucking play that game. I will never buy anything from that company. Like I'm done. Same. I don't care if like 15 years down the road, they're the shining example of video game making. I want nothing to do with them. You can't just like wash away your false advertising.
Oh yeah,
and I feel like companies expect to do that. They're like, oh yeah, we fucked up. Like, sorry, we tried to take advantage of you with loot boxes. Like no, like get fucked. Like you can't just do that and then make me play your game in 6 months. I'm not gonna play it.
Look at Bethesda's a good example of this too. Look at the aura that's already starting to surround the next Elder Scrolls by what we've seen from Fallout 76.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
people are already skeptical.
It's worrisome.
And
that one's way off. That's not.
Bethesda's had quite a few blemishes. You know, Youngbloods, from what I understand, is straight trash, and a lot of people I heard from, especially watching Delrith review it from the Angry Joe show, has permanently stained the Wolfenstein franchise with that. And like to go on to support what I was saying, and so it makes at least a little sense, is what in the gaming industry, once you've done that, like what Matt's saying, once you've gone back on your word or have not given what was promised to be delivered, even in the slightest, the gaming industry is just non-forgiving. EA could, and this Battlefront can make the next 10 moves in this game's future 100% how they should be or right, and I still think that it's not going to save them. I think what the damage is done on Battlefront, in my own opinion, and it's here to stay. The people who are still playing it now may find that the game has gone better, like how Morgan's saying is with No Man's Sky, but you'll never see people, and I think that Matt and I, who have just said that, there are a lot more people like us out there than the people who will go back and give it a second chance.
Well, actually, I'm not sure that that's true. There are people like us that won't go back, and we're the good ones. We're the examples. But there are so many people. Like, look at No Man's Sky. The gaming population, the people that play video games are very hard up front. Like, they'll hammer you up front. They'll be like, oh, like, you know, we didn't ask for this. Like, we're not playing this shitty game, blah, blah, blah. And then 6 months later, as soon as like that company puts out a few PR spin pieces, they're right back in the game. And they're advertising for free the game that they just hated. I see it all the time.
Yep. People play it and people promote it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of disturbing. And
it is a little disturbing, actually.
How often it does happen. I think, yeah, I know like, what you're saying, man. I do kind of feel like I might be one of the outliers that won't give a game like that a second chance when they definitely come out and blatantly lie. I mean, I know you can, people do it all the time, quoting Todd Howard and like Bethesda, like with his blatant lies for the games. And granted, they make
those are sweet little lies. Yeah, they're different.
Right. I mean, they're granted. You know, his aren't as impactful, I guess, because I mean, in most cases, the game was still pretty good back in those times. I think it was like Oblivion and Skyrim and Fallout 3 and everything else. So they ended up being good games, and you can forgive that you know, this guy's ambitions are getting the best of him. I guess he gets excited about these games, and good for him. But in No Man's Sky, what they promoted and what they produced, and I don't want to rag on this game so much. I feel bad now, honestly, but completely different than what was advertised. I mean, that's terrible. I could not support that. And the last thing I want to say about this is we're talking about, Josh, you were talking about Battlefront, like how many hours we spent playing that game as kids, and how many games, Star Wars games and movies, how much time we've invested into that franchise as a whole. How do they keep fucking this up so badly with the movies, with the new games? Everything they're doing now is just horrible. Like they got the keys to the Lamborghini and they just like drove it like, you know, straight through the garage door and into a tree.
Yeah,
like,
they
immediately.
got like 3 feet out.
It's unbelievable. I mean, you could literally do anything. Like you could have made
I know.
You know, you could have been, the game could have been about like being Jar Jar Binks or something, and it would have been better than what they did with the loot boxes and everything else surrounding the game. It's just absolutely insane. How you
I
can
don't know.
mess
I
it
don't think
up.
there's really an answer for it. I think that it's
Mo-
goes back
movie-wise?
to our hold on, Matt. It goes back to it goes right back before we get on this shit. Okay, with these movies,
I
it
don't want
goes
to get
right back to our previous podcast with politics and video games, and I think there's too many fingers involved, especially because stuff like Star Wars. There's too many influencers, right? Like it's just too big. You know what I'm saying? It's too large of a IP to not piss at least somebody off, right? And I think that just from the get-go, I whatever, I don't even know where the hell it's like. There's so many different things you can blame on with the failure.
The movies are just a joke. They could have come out with a Chewbacca growing up story, and they could have called it like The Adventures of Young Chewbacca. That could have been it, and it could have been all on Kashyyyk, and it could have been all in the language of the Wookiee language with no subtitles, and I would have preferred that to Episode 7. That movie sucked.
All I can say for Star Wars is like I have hopes for The Mandalorian. I think The Mandalorian looks pretty good.
I like the new Obi-Wan with Ewan McGregor that they're gonna do because he's my favorite character.
That's promising. Hello there, all that stuff. You know, I got you, Matt. I'm with you. But like, has anybody watched the D23 footage for the trailer of the new movie?
No.
I was talking to you guys about Slack with this. So for anybody who hasn't watched it out there and is listening,
for the
Rey comes out with a double-bladed lightsaber. Okay.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I did see it.
And Matt, did you play KOTOR? This has really nothing to do with what we're talking about.
No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
But nobody answered me, and I was like, man, all I could think about when I saw her was Bastila from KOTOR when she.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Shit.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Somebody that
I didn't get that same vibe because I don't want to associate a shitty character like Rey. It has no depth. It's like a like she was a pretty decent character. She's not like an amazing character, but pretty good.
To go back, I guess to link what Matt's saying with these movies to the games that we're talking about and the unforgiving, because people are emotional for this stuff. You know what I mean? People care about these stories and these franchises and stuff, and I'm no less excited for whatever the hell they're going to do to Battlefront to make it better as I am as excited to go and watch the episode 9 of Star Wars. It doesn't matter if they bring J.J. Abrams or whoever the hell they want to bring in to fix this franchise, or in Battlefront story, whatever business practices or implementations to further content in the game. It doesn't matter. You lost me already. You failed. You know, you've lost a fan in terms of the main story in me. And I'm sure and it's obvious that there are a lot of other people like me out there.
I mean, I think it's okay to be pissed if they like fuck up or like do something wrong, but if down the road they redeem themselves and the game's actually good, like I'll still play it. Like I'm not that
jaded.
I won't hold a grudge that bad. I mean, that's just me personally. I'm not saying one way is right or wrong.
I do. I take it very personally.
Have you seen the new Star Wars, Dave?
No, like I haven't.
Well, there you go.
I really can't. Yeah, no, like I can't say about it, but like I mean, I played other games that like were shitty at first, and then they like got better later on, and then I came back and played them because they were good again, and it was fun.
Like WoW,
so. Sure.
It got shitty, and then it gets good. And it gets shitty, and then it gets good.
Yeah, no, WoW's a really good example of that. Even just like BFA on launch, BFA kind of was shit, and like we kind of stopped playing. And then like the latest patch was like good, and so I came back and played it because it was fun again.
So PewDiePie just hit 100 million subscribers. He's the first individual to ever hit this benchmark. He's been part of a few controversies over the past few years, and it's really hard, at least for me, to forget his recent War with T series and the whole subscribe to PewDiePie thing. That was a really, really cool time in internet history, I think. But as a content creator, we've really seen his content evolve, change over time. I think that he's been a lot different year to year. At least that's the way that I felt when watching him. I remember like really, really liking his stuff like 2 to 3 years ago, when he used to be in that like dark gray room and he used to have like the cardboard cutout guys in the background and stuff. I loved his content then. But anyway, enough about me. He also got married to Marzia on the 19th. Thank you, whoever put that in there. I'm glad I didn't miss that. But do you feel that that this 100 million is well deserved?
Hail to the king, baby.
Okay, perfect. I love it.
Yeah. He's the greatest YouTuber of all time. I don't think it's going to be a long time before anybody comes close to dethroning him, whether they want to, acknowledge him in the rewind this year or any other year moving forward here. I don't think it really matters. I think everybody knows like who the top dog is. He deserves it. He's seems like a pretty awesome guy, makes amazing content. I still watch his stuff from time to time.
Man, those old videos of him playing horror games like Amnesia. That's what I got started on, watching Pewdie, and but he's kind of come in and out with the, what his content, has obviously changed throughout the years, but he always seems to stay relevant somehow. The guy's got it figured out.
Well, his ability to adapt. And I don't know that he does it consciously. I mean, I'm sure that it's a little bit like business motivated, but it's probably like just how he's feeling personally at the time too, just based on like what's happening politically or what's happening in the YouTube space, like whatever. It's unmatched. I mean, the guy is like, he really is the king, Josh. I think that you're right. I've never seen anybody be able to like stick and move like that over years and years and years of different trends and memes and whatever else. He's a master of his craft, and I think it shows.
He kind of sets the trends, don't you think? Like whatever, I know he kind of, he borrowed like the Y thing and stuff like that recently, but he can do it and he does it really well. No matter what it is, that whether he was just like playing video games and was like a whole playthrough of something, or he's playing Minecraft again now, like he can just hop into it and it goes and everybody loves it and he's good at all of it.
Look at the movement that started. All anybody's doing is playing Minecraft right now.
Right.
And like, is it all because of him? No. But like, is that a big deal? I think so. I think that other YouTubers see that, especially the smaller ones, and they think, fuck, like I'm playing Minecraft, of course. Why wouldn't I?
Right.
Even though it might not be a good decision because everybody's going to be watching PewDiePie's videos instead of yours, but I digress.
Let's make a Minecraft video. It's about time.
Yeah, it's coming out tomorrow.
Yeah. Good for him, and congrats to him on his marriage,
Yeah, congrats, Felix, if you're listening.
Yeah. You guys, you should all check out the wedding video that he posted. Yeah. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I've watched it. It was really good.
Yeah, I think, just his ability to like adapt, like Matt said, and just like do so many different things and like still be like funny and relevant is impressive. And you got to tip the cap to the guy,
I didn't watch Pewdie for years and years, and I'm sure Matt and Wolf have watched this video and will be able to recall exactly what I'm talking about. But he released a video of some weird anime girl pimp game.
Oh no, it's Dave's favorite video.
Hilarious.
And he was spraying himself in the face with a water bottle, and just like, how could somebody take a game as offensive as that game and do the things he was doing in that video and get away with it on YouTube if it wasn't for him? You know what I mean?
And he kept just saying
hilarious. She's got a thick ass.
And he kept saying, just don't tell Marzia the entire time. Oh, it was the best. It was the best.
How could somebody get away with that? You know what I mean? Only him. Only him.
He's so lighthearted and fun about it. I mean, it's really hard to... He's got to be the least abrasive man in existence.
Like, if I was going to make content on the internet, I wouldn't touch that kind of a game with a 10-foot pole with the political climate that's going around right now. But he was just like
Sure.
Fuck
Yeah,
it.
why not? Let's do it.
Mhm.
Oh my god.
Plus, like he's always hired really good people in places that he's needed. Like Brad, his editor, is really good, and like Gloria Borger on the news. Like he's always had the right people in the right spots, and I think that that's really helped him move forward.
Disney messed up by ditching him. You know.
Yeah, I agree.
Disney screwed up by ditching him. You know, regardless of what was going on in his career at that point in time, they lost out. They lost big potential in somebody there. You know, look at the guy. Just, you know, we've said it already 10 times in the last 5 minutes. He just cannot not stay relevant. He's not losing it, and I don't think he'll lose it anytime in the near future. He's just going to keep growing.
Unless he quits, that would be the only thing.
But even then, it's like, is he going to delete his channel? Like, oh my god, that could still bring in money for him for years to come, even with just the archive that he has.
Oh yeah. Well, let's jump down to this last news story. A group of young Buddhist monks have recently won an esports tournament in Thailand. The school's academic coordinator had to say this: the novices wanted to try entering the competition, so we gave them that opportunity. However, we didn't expect them to actually win. The monks studied Buddhism 20 hours per week. They are also exposed to a secular education. And the tournament that they won featured a mobile game called Speed Drifters. I mean, obviously, this is just a funny, lighthearted story. I figured would be a good idea to just wrap up the show with. But it's pretty cool. I mean, it's good to know that those guys are getting out there and doing a few other things than just studying the faith all day, all night. You know.
Cool, good for them, man. That's awesome. You know.
Yeah.
Have you seen that guy? I watch too much YouTube. He was a Buddhist monk a few years ago, and he makes those videos like what it was like to be like a Buddhist monk. And
I haven't. But
was it the Buddhist?
What's his name?
I hope that. I'm trying to look it up. I want to say it's something with an R.
Is this the guy that does like he looks at like Shaolin monks on video games?
Maybe that's what I'm thinking. Maybe I'm not. Maybe it's
stuff.
not the same thing. And I'm sorry if I misspoke there. It seems.
So what is it?
Yeah. McNeil's right. It's Shaolin. I don't think they're they do study Buddhism. I don't think they're necessarily like Buddhist monks though.
I think
it's like
cool,
that like art, you know, like the martial art form thing.
I haven't seen those videos, but I have watched Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls, so I feel like I kind of know my way around a Buddhist monk.
Yeah. I guess what I was trying to say is that, and I think this story highlights it. I mean, they're not like out of touch with, you know, the rest of the world. So,
alrighty then.
Yeah, it just kind of makes me feel bad, I guess, that they're like playing these games for 5 hours a week and winning tournaments, and we're like the worst players on any game we get on. Spiritually
on another level, and you know, in their gaming careers on another level as well. These guys have really outdone themselves.
They've really outdone themselves. All right, let's wrap the show there. Sorry for putting that story in. I thought it was too good to pass up. But thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate it, and thank you for listening. If you listen on iTunes and Spotify, we post these recordings on YouTube. We also have a lot of our gaming videos on there as well, so please stop by and check it out if you have the time. But thank you so much for listening, and hopefully, you know, we'll catch you next week.